So there we have it. It's the very basic structure of a client presentation. It could be longer, it could be shorter than this. It depends on the unique needs you and your client have. You can download the PDF as an example to get some inspiration. You can also download the template. This works in Adobe Illustrator. You can see if it can open in Affinity Designer. It might open up with limited options, but still open up good for you. So we have a great client presentation. I like to export this as a PDF. I find PDFs to be a more universal format to present and send to clients. You can do it on an email, you can do a Dropbox or a Google Drive and send it to them that way. I find that it retains a higher quality than exporting as JPEGs. JPEGs is fine for a portfolio, but for a presentation you want to have it be high resolution. It might be a bigger file size, but it's all about presenting it in the best way possible. So I would just save as a PDF. And since I use different artboards here, I use different artboards for the client presentation, it'll save it all in order. And if you ever want to know, I just wanted to talk about this for a few minutes, especially if you use the template and you want to add or subtract pages. If you want to add a page into an artboard system like this, so let's say I want to add a page right after the stylescape and add a different one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to File, Document Setup. I'm just editing artboards, so it's going to give them a chance for me to delete or add artboards. I'm going to click on the new artboard icon, so it's going to add a new artboard. And so there is an artboard panel, and if you don't see your artboard panel, you can go up to Window and go down to artboards and to load it. But this is your artboard panel, and you can change the order here. So this is titled Artboard 16, and I can move it up to be before this one or after this one. So it's going to be after 5. So I'm going to drag it up to be after 5 like this. And it's not going to change the order, but you can go up to rearrange and it's going to file them all back in order. So I'm going to rearrange right up here at the top, and I could do kind of a left to right arrangement and 4 columns, and you could do whatever spacing you want, and I just make sure move artboard work with artboard. You want it to all stay together. Click OK, and then all of a sudden it's filed back into place. So I know I've never not taught that before, how to add and subtract when you're doing a big presentation. If you're doing more than 20 or 30 pages, I highly recommend checking out Adobe InDesign or Affinity Publisher. Those are both great layout programs that are great for really long documents. In this case, I feel like I have more control in a vector program, an Affinity Designer or Illustrator. I have more control over all these little fine little details I'm putting together. But if it's really big and it starts to really, the performance is low, I highly suggest anything past about 20 pages. I would encourage you to use InDesign, but anything before that, you can't. Illustrator's artboard system can handle it. Let's save this as a PDF. So just going to do File, Save As, a PDF, and I want it to be pretty high quality, but I also want it to be. It's probably going to be seen as a digital document, most likely. They're probably not going to print it out. Some do, some don't. So I'm going to do the smallest file size, but I'm going to make some modifications. I'm going to go down to compression, and I'm just going to make sure it's 300 dpi, which is a really good, solid resolution for them to see that in. So I'm just making some modifications so that it has a smaller file size, but I'm kind of increasing the resolution to make it nice and good. So that's it. That's all I'm doing. And I'm going to optimize for fast web view because there's a good chance they're going to probably see it on the web. So I'm going to click OK. And this is our presentation in the end. Here is our presentation in PDF form. So let's look at all the pages and we can work through them. And we want to kind of go in order. Just click down and go in order and send this to other people. See if it makes sense. You might want to switch the order of a slide or two based on feedback, or remove a slide or add a slide. So just send it to somebody else. Make sure the story or the narrative that you're setting in the order that you have it in makes sense, and that if you needed to add anything, you can. So there it is, kind of including everything in there. There's our kind of final call to action. And that is the very basics of a client presentation in terms of doing a big branding project like this. So now that we've done this, what's next? Portfolio presentation. We're going to put together a portfolio presentation of this very project using a website called Behance. I've been showing you examples of people posting on Behance. It's where I've gotten all my examples so far. It's where I do a lot of my research. Super popular website to post your design and branding work. So we're going to post one using Behance and work through that process briefly to create a portfolio presentation.